Happy holidays and welcome to a special edition of NBC2's Stories to Share. I'm Sean Martinelli, here under the lights of the Edison and Ford Winter Estates in Fort Myers. After a year in Southwest Florida where so much went wrong, we wanted to take an hour to remind you of what went right. So I've handpicked some of my favorite tales of heroism, generosity, friendship, and love. We start with a story to share that began when I invited a group of strangers to lunch. What happened next led to one memorable meal. In this Fort Myers restaurant, we invited 22 people to an event they know nothing about. Among the attendees, a food truck operator.
Sean contacted us.
A pastor and his family.
Sean Martinelli reached out.
A tree trimmer.
It's super nervous, absolutely, yeah.
A realtor.
We got a call, and then I just spoke to him briefly, and then he sent an email and said, would you like to join us? And so.
Different people, all here for the same reason. It's what they did on September 28th.
We're not seeing so much wind damage as what we're seeing is just this water.
And this was, in fact, the perfect storm.
This has an Armageddon-type feel to it, folks.
As Ian made landfall in Southwest Florida, those in this room ran toward danger. Kevin Ott and his kids went on their boat and saved 16 people. The Wickard family saved 30 more. Sammy Sosa and Scott Sofer were responsible for at least a dozen lives. Whitney Murphy and her two boys rescued a 91-year-old neighbor. Yeah. Kara Minardi Power and her husband saved a couple fleeing their flooded home. Which brings us to why they're here. All of you in this room are heroes. When Hurricane Ian made landfall in Southwest Florida, you put your lives in danger to save your fellow man, and I think that's pretty commendable. So thank you for doing that. In the spirit of Thanksgiving, we have a few people here who wanted to say thanks as well, and we're going to bring them in now. Entering the room are 15 of the more than 60 souls saved by those who are seated.
My name is Mary Ann Deneen.
I'm here on behalf of my dad, Jack.
And my name is Amy Gonzalez. I'm speaking on behalf of my family.
I'm Anthony Millar, my wife Christy, my son Bryce. And we felt we had quite a few plans in place, and very quickly everything went out the window.
Anthony soon found himself stuck with his family and neighbor Sam.
And we stayed in the water for about 3.5 hours to our angel kid. No.
That angel then made another rescue.
Kevin said, I will not leave you, I will get to you. And lo and behold, Kevin and the kids showed up and saved us.
Bravery like that happened from Fort Myers to Naples.
The desperation that was overwhelming us as the water kept flooding in kept us paralyzed in fear. And that's when we saw strangers, who we now call our heroes, coming through the neck-deep water with a kayak looking to help. Had it not been for these two brave young men, I don't know if my family would have had the courage to make it out of our home, and I really don't know if we'd be here. They helped to lead us through the water, their quiet strength and bravery, keeping us calm, letting us know that we were okay, that we would be okay.
Not far away, Heather Donlin needed a hero for her dad, Jack.
As the water rose, he moved from his couch to sitting on top of his desk to finally sitting on his kitchen counters where he placed a chair as a last resort.
That's when Heather posted on Facebook pleading for someone to help.
With Whitney Murphy and her boys being some of the people to have seen it. She, Colin, and Luke tried early on in the afternoon to reach him, but the waters were too high to walk and the winds were far too strong. So they waited. They waited on somebody they didn't know. And they waited for the water to go down so that they could try and rescue him again.
And they did.
Their courage, perseverance, and determination to help saved my father's life that day. Quality of character is what is revealed when no one is looking. They could have easily glossed over my plea and Facebook post and assumed somebody else would come to his rescue. But instead, they chose to act and they chose to help. There are truly no words for how deeply grateful I am for what you did for our family. You have given my family the gift of time with somebody that we love, and I will always be eternally grateful. Thank you.
The people that are up here in the front of this room are just a fraction of the dozens of people that you all saved during Hurricane Ian. And I don't know any other words this holiday season, this Thanksgiving season, to say other than thank you. 2 months ago, this would have been a room full of strangers. Now, they break bread like old friends. Nearly everyone here lost their homes, and yet they still smile. All here lost the lives they knew, and yet they still laugh. And this Thanksgiving, they will still celebrate. Despite all we lost, they celebrate because of the heroes we gained. As you just saw, Hurricane Ian uncovered countless examples of selflessness. The storm also unearthed memories of the past. You'll find out what I mean in this next story to share. It's 1996. The Macarena is the song of the year. Seinfeld is the show of the year. And the Dodge Caravan is Motor Trend's car of the year.
The Motor Trend car of the year is more than a car.
And this is more than just a billboard. It's the billboard Hurricane Ian blew back from the past. You'll see it along Pine Island Road in Cape Coral. That new Dodge Caravan being advertised is actually 26 years old.
I was shocked that there was actually like a billboard behind the billboard.
Jay Gansey manages the Dodge dealership down the street. He says whatever ad was here likely flew away. Now drivers are left with this.
I would love to say there's been a mass caravan demand, but there has not, obviously.
Still, what happened says something about that iconic van.
Goes to show you that some things maybe are timeless even.
You sell cars for a living. You think you could still sell one of those 96 Caravans?
Absolutely.
Of course, we couldn't leave without putting Jay to the test.
It's simple. As times have changed, so have families. Families have more children. Our children are being more active. There's nothing better than a Caravan. So don't overpay. Come see me, Jay, for the best deal in a 1996 Caravan.
I mean, perfect. The billboard hooked us in. But now we're sold.
Hi, I'm Story2Share photojournalist Allison Hickey. Every so often, Sean shares his thoughts in a segment we've come to call Martinelli Moments. You'll see a few of those in the next hour, including this one about his very full inbox.
I have a confession to make. I'm a bit of a voicemail hoarder. For some reason, I can't bring myself to erase a message no matter how minuscule. Take a look at my inbox. I have one from an old landlord.
Hey, Sean, it's Steve, the landlord.
Another from a former boss.
Hey, Sean, it's Jim. I do not need you to come into work.
I even have one saved from a stranger who dialed by mistake.
Hey, how about them Yankees? All right, Joe, checking in. I'm going to Florida on Wednesday.
You're probably wondering why. Why save all these messages? I guess they capture small, ordinary moments that are worth the few megabytes of space they occupy. Like whenever Dad calls before a big Syracuse game.
Big game today. Good luck. Hopefully they'll be competitive.
Or when Mom checks in after those heartbreaking losses.
Hey, Sean, how you doing?
It feels wrong to delete any from Aunt Alice.
Hey, Sean, it's Alice. Hey, Sean, it's Alice. Just trying to reach out. Hey, Sean, it's Alice. I was thinking of you.
Aunt Alice calls a lot.
Sean Martinelli. It's Alice Martinelli.
There are messages from people I hope to hear from many more times.
Hi, Sean. This is Grandma. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. We love you.
Love you, Grandma, Grandpa. Bye.
And then there are others who I know I'll never hear from again.
Sean, this is Poppy. I love you, and I want to tell you happy birthday to you, and I'm so proud of you. Take care.
So call me old school, but if I don't pick up, skip the text. Instead, when you hear that beep, you know what to do. A friendship born in the produce section of Publix, and a board meeting is called to order. Happy holidays and welcome back to our special edition of NBC2's Stories to Share. These next 3 tales are about friendship that began in very different places, from the produce aisle of Publix to the floor of a Port Charlotte kitchen.
Is that Catherine?
Yes.
It's hard to beat 6-year-old Fiona Malone in a game of Guess Who.
Come on, Fiona, that you didn't even give me a chance.
It's also hard to match her show-stopping voice.
Cool never bothered me anyway.
Fiona, you're so good at singing. Though more than anything, Fiona is hard not to love. You just always have to have the spotlight on you, don't you?
Especially when I'm doing it.
Especially when you're doing an interview, right? But the best example of how this 6-year-old manages to weasel her way into your heart began here at a Publix.
She has always been a child who thrived having structure.
And so every Saturday, Rachel Smith would take her daughter grocery shopping at a Fort Myers Publix. That's where they met this man.
I always remember that moment. Seriously, I never forget that moment.
His name is Gilnet, but to Fiona, he's simply Mr. High Five.
Yeah, exactly, high five.
That's because from the age of 2, whenever Fiona saw her new friend, this would happen.
I do remember the first time that she kind of like figured it out and did her own high five. Her whole face lights up like it's Christmas morning, like, I figured out how to do it. I'm so amazing now. And that just consistently became her thing.
Saturday after Saturday, the two became inseparable.
She always knew high five was going to be there.
For Gilnet, those little displays of kindness were nothing out of the ordinary. It's just who you are.
Yeah, this is my job, man. This is my job.
Just his job, whether greeting Fiona at the grocery store or gifting her a bike on her birthday.
And he expected nothing in return. You can't expect anything from a 3-year-old. He just wanted to make her happy.
What? How are you doing?
Those visits happened every week until 2020. When the pandemic began, the shopping trips stopped. Gilnet and Fiona lost touch until now. With our help this week, the two were reunited at Gilnet's new store in Cape Coral and picked up right where they left off. Although they have since graduated from high fives to big ol' hugs.
Fiona! How are you doing?
Good.
Good? Do you remember me?
Yeah.
Oh, wow! I miss you!
It's hard to believe a connection like this started in the produce section.
This is my heart. This is my heart.
She's your heart.
Oh, yeah.
Since this story first aired, Fiona visited Gilnet again with a $10,000 check. After hearing this story, people from across the country raised that money for High Five. Still, the dough doesn't compare to Fiona's original gift of friendship.
If we step back, we realize that we all have a lot more in common, and somewhere in that intersection of all those things we have in common, kindness is at the heart of it.
High five to that.
2.5 by 3. 2.5. 2.5 by 3.5.
At a time when most meetings for the day have ended, this one is just
I got
beginning.
in 1974.
Each Monday evening, through the veil of smoke and the faint smell of booze, a board, B-O-R-E-D, meeting commences.
This particular meeting started in early 2020 because we were literally bored, like the sign says.
So if you want to be on TV, come on over. The attendees have known each other long enough that even first names are far too formal.
My nickname's Moose.
There's Moose, Uncle Dave, Chucky, Fireball, Forrest, Red Fox, Buzzy, and Ditch.
This has been an interesting journey of, let's say, 55 years.
Way back when, the group attended UMass Amherst together and were brothers in the Sig Ep fraternity. They graduated, but never lost touch. Over the years, they vacationed together, celebrated together, and now it's only fitting they're retiring together in Bonita Springs.
It's continuous. It's a great thing.
We've reached a point where it's unstoppable.
Which brings us to these Monday meetings.
You know, they said we were holding these board meetings, and I went to board meeting. I'm going, what for, you know?
Somehow free advice got added to it, just to make it a little more interesting.
Few people have taken them up on that free advice offer. So I did.
It's worth every penny.
I asked the group what's the best guidance on life they could offer. Not surprisingly, most of it had to do with friendship.
Keep what's important to you close.
They told me about the importance of showing up for one another, both in life's good moments and the hard ones.
My wife went through a serious operation 2 summers ago, and the first gift to the door was a big bouquet, huge bouquet of flowers from these guys, from the Brotherhood. And I remember the look in her face when she said, wow.
Find friends like that, they say, then never let them go.
They're my brothers. They're guys that I've known forever and I trust with everything.
And with that, this meeting is adjourned.
Come on, Caleb.
10-month-old Caleb Parsons recently figured out the fine art of the crawl. A little wiggle, a little slide.
Yay!
He finally got it down.
And it's just all those milestones that he's hitting, and they're happening so fast.
Most babies are left to reach this milestone on their own, but Caleb
Come here, Kalua.
Has had some help.
But yeah, that right there I did not expect.
Caleb's K9 sister Kalua crawls by necessity, not choice. After a fall broke her spine and hip, the Rottweiler was adopted by Caleb's parents. Ever since.
Oh, they're best friends. That's her baby. She's constantly checking on him.
Look no further than what happened recently.
And just one evening, bedtime, you know, he's all ready for bed. We're hanging out in the kitchen. And I kind of see him start to scoot a little bit. And I'm like, wait a minute, you know? And then I just happened to pull out the camera. And I was like, all right, let's see.
Caleb's mom, Lori, captured the moment on video. It since squirmed into the hearts of millions online.
Yeah, you see a bond between an animal, you know, and a human being, and that they can teach each other something.
Though Kalua has taught Caleb more than just how to get around.
That all of us need to be a little bit more happier and resilient and kind of have the strength to pull through because she does not realize she has a disability.
Kalua will never again be able to walk, but at least for now, she has a partner to crawl.
Hi, this is Jim Depke. It's always great to catch Stories to Share here in Estero. Now here's another Sean Martinelli moment from Halloween. Enjoy.
My Halloween costumes as a kid were different than most. I usually didn't dress up as someone scary. I dressed up as someone I admired. The best example of this came during Halloween of 2002.
I hope so. All right, let's play. Come on.
I loved watching Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and I loved Regis Philbin. So I put on a jacket and tie and went trick-or-treating as Regis. This got me thinking, it's been 20 years. Who do I admire enough to go as now? Turns out, I don't really have to look very far. I could don my cap and sunglasses and go as Mike Murphy.
An everyday hero.
The Island Park guy jumped on a boat during the hurricane and helped save some 13 families. Or I could grab a guitar and be Bob Tabarini. During our darkest days following the storm, he played music for the hungry and weary. Then there are the first responders, the linemen, the Salvation Army volunteers, and the list goes on, but they all share something in common. Those I've come to look up to don't have fancy titles. They're just ordinary people who, when needed, rose to the occasion. Over this past month, people did that across Southwest Florida. And as much as 8-year-old Sean admired Regis, I think I admire them even more. A set of triplets find their second home at a Cape Coral animal shelter.
Great. Oh, this is great.
Over the summer, I took a trip to the Cape Coral Animal Shelter, but as you'll see in this next story to share, we didn't go for the animals. At the Cape Coral Animal Shelter, we found an angel of a volunteer.
You gonna say hi? Say hi.
For years, Angel Bruckner has cared for animals who have no one else.
You wanna go this way, you wanna go that way, and you're going good girl.
But hang around here long enough, and you might start seeing double.
Slinky. I'm Slinky, and I'm a good baby. She's new here. I'm new.
That's Angel's sister, Melissa.
Me and my sister's been working here for like two and a half years.
And these two aren't the only ones.
No, there's three of us.
Enter the third piece of the trio, Tiffany.
Dog coming out.
Together, they make up the identical Bruckner triplets.
I remember the day they walked up to the door.
Executive Director Liz McCauley recalls that was before the shelter even opened.
Yeah, we actually got kicked out a couple times during the building area because we would snoop around with our dogs.
The triplets hope to work here because in these animals, they see themselves.
We didn't get a lot of opportunity when we were younger because we're adopted children.
Nearly 3 decades ago, the sisters found themselves in foster care.
They were going to stay 2 weeks. That was 28 years ago. They never left.
Vicki Bruckner and her husband took in the girls.
But he looks like a little teddy bear. Yeah.
To see how far they've come now.
It makes me cry. That they're succeeding when people had thought at one point they wouldn't.
You'd be hard-pressed to find volunteers more knowledgeable, more dedicated.
Right? Oh, this is great.
It's been that way from their first day here.
They've been here ever since, and we couldn't be happier about that.
This was meant to be. Yeah, it was like we waited forever for something like this opportunity.
Under Angel, Melissa, and Tiffany's watch, hundreds of animals found a home.
Yes.
But the Bruckner sisters found one too.
I know that I'm always loved here, so it reminds us, there are people out there that really do care for us.
Hi, I'm Kathy Gray.
And I'm Maggie Gray.
We love watching Stories to Share.
Right here in our Fort Myers living room.
And now, here's Sean Martinelli.
With another Martinelli moment.
Indulge me for a few moments. What's up with all the holidays? I'm not talking about the staples like Independence Day or Thanksgiving, Christmas or Hanukkah. I'm talking about National Home Warranty Day on February 10th or National Couscous Day on August 5th. I get some of them, like National Bike Day on June 3rd, but then there's National Bike to School Day on May 17th, not to be confused with National Bike and Walk to School Day on October 5th. There's National Burger Day on August 25th, National Cheeseburger Day on September 18th, National Double Cheeseburger Day on September 15th, National Plant-Based Burger Day on October 10th, and National Veggie Burger Day on June 5th. I mean, who comes up with these days? Who thought we needed a National Wiggle Your Toes Day or a National False Teeth Day? But because there are so many of these holidays, I'd like to add a few more. For starters, how about Misplaced Shopping Cart Awareness Day? Every day, thousands of carts bear the load of our groceries, then they are left like lost sheep, waiting for some poor employee to corral them to safety. Why not also add National Stay Seated Until Your Row is Ready to Depart the Plane Day? It's a bit wordy, but perhaps may impress upon people they don't have to spring up the second the plane stops. And finally, I'd like to declare a National Story to Share Day, because if flash drives can have their own day, I think this television segment should too. Meet the Port Charlotte man who left a lavish life and made a remarkable sacrifice, and an anniversary present on full display. Happy holidays and welcome back to a special presentation of NBC2's Stories to Share. These next 3 stories are all about what we do for those we love, from an extraordinary act of selflessness to an incredible anniversary gift and a heartfelt reunion.
Yeah, I've got to get these seats redone again.
Rick Fardo doesn't have a cool hobby.
It is what's called a rat rod.
No secret talent.
Yes.
Just a few old cars.
That's the true meaning of a rat rod, because it looks ratty.
And because of that, Rick's not quite sure why we're here.
Yes.
In his words.
Yeah, I'm not that interesting of a person.
Rick thinks he's telling the truth.
Then shorten this, chop this.
Though it's anything but.
He's not interesting?
Yeah.
Oh, well, he's fibbing. He's definitely fibbing. He's Superman. I literally would have to call him Superman just because he is the impossible.
To understand why, you have to go back to the Rick Fardo of the 70s. The Rick Fardo with hair. The guy who became a corporate executive and had it all.
Limos, famous people, casinos with rock stars in them.
Before I got married, I told my now ex-wife, I said, I don't want children. I want my cars, I want to travel, I don't like kids touching my stuff.
But after Rick's marriage ended, the new bachelor had an inexplicable change of heart.
I can't really tell you how it happened. It just did.
Almost on a whim, Rick decided to take in foster kids. And you failed at that miserably.
Terribly. And 10 adoptions later, here we are.
Soon, dinner for 1 became a feast for 11.
Well, let's see. Sometimes I miss 1 or 2. Austin, which is my youngest, then Nathaniel, Jacob, Jason, Tim, Vincent, Michael, Bill, Ron, and Ricky.
Being here and having the life that we have now is just something that some people can only dream of.
Because in each of Rick's sons, there is a story of heartache.
Yeah.
Moving around, foster care, places to places.
Anger, sadness, lost hope. Something that I eventually found again.
Found because of Rick.
He's basically saved all of our lives.
That's a pretty big statement.
Oh yeah, it is.
It's the truth though.
Oh, yep, it is. He took us from these really bad places in our lives and just gave us the opportunity to become what we really want to be.
He basically stepped in and showed me what having a dad was like. Yeah.
They've grown to be pretty good, productive adults, and I'm so proud because, aww, everybody always says, oh, you've done all this, and I'm like, no, I can provide the path, but you know, they have to make the choice that they want to make more out of their life.
This is in no way the life that you thought you were going to have.
No.
But are you happy with the life that you got?
Oh, absolutely.
Rick still calls himself uninteresting. Everyone else here, though, just calls him Dad.
Oh. I know I use that fork for that.
Love you too, buddy.
I look so dorky right there with
Denise Gilbert cannot stop thinking about what happened last fall. One day, out of the blue, her husband Mitch looked her in the eyes
and said to me, Denise, Gilbert, you still do it for me after all these years. It stopped me in my tracks.
Denise says it was how Mitch said those words, how he looked at her like they were still teenagers.
Even when it's bad, it's good. I just love her. I love her. Man, I can't even explain how much I love her.
This month marks the couple's 25th year of marriage. But for Mitch, that's a milestone that's presented a problem.
I was wrestling with what to do. I actually started planning a year ago. What am I going to do?
He knew he had to do something big.
I wanted to make a statement to my wife.
And there is no bolder way of making a statement than this.
I got a text from a friend and she said, oh my word, I just saw your billboard, congratulations on your anniversary. And I said, what billboard? What are you talking about?
There for all to see were the words.
Hey, Denise Gilbert, after 25 years of marriage, you still do it for me? and then a Love Mitchell at the bottom.
Needless to say, that gift topped all others.
Oh, this one takes the cake. This one definitely takes the cake.
Though little did Denise know.
I thought that was the only billboard. I had no idea that there were others.
From Bonita Springs to Estero to Fort Myers, 7 billboards from one husband who's still madly in love.
That's what it's all about.
Still, with a gift as good as this, you might be wondering, what happens next year?
I hope nothing more. He's a little crazy.
50 is the next big one for me. I have 25 years to plan and save my money, so who knows?
You never know what you might need from Publix. At a store like this, Crystal Deepu discovered something you can't put in a cart.
Quick piece of my, past brought back.
To understand, we first have to go back decades. Crystal grew up in the Dominican Republic with her family and a nanny named Rufina.
She was a big part of our lives growing up and taught me and my sister how to speak Spanish. And she was like our second mom.
25 years passed, the two lost touch. Then Crystal went on vacation to Key West and stopped at Publix.
We had heard that she worked there, but we weren't really sure if she still did.
She did.
And at first, you could tell maybe she didn't recognize me, or maybe she's like, I think I know her, but I'm not really sure. And it took her like a little bit to realize who I was.
When I see her eyes, oh my God, I remind. So I say, oh my God.
What's a quarter century apart when you see someone you love?
I still cry thinking about it.
I'm so happy. When you love somebody, I think so you never forget.
When you love somebody, you never forget?
Yeah.
You never know what you might need from Publix. Crystal left that day with her cart empty, but her heart full. Those stories showed the power of love, and this past spring, after tragedies from Uvalde to Buffalo, I set out to ask strangers where they find love. At J.C. Park in Cape Coral, where the Caloosahatchee meets land, is a bench. It's a bench inscribed with 6 words.
True love is the greatest miracle. And it is.
I decided to come here after Buffalo, after Uvalde, after the more than 260 mass shootings this year alone, to pose a question.
Nice to meet you.
As our country continues to witness indescribable hatred.
Yeah, so...
where do you find love?
And the birds, there's baby birds down there and down there.
Mickey Tazinski finds it in all those animals and her dog Chocolate.
It used to take me a half hour to walk the park. Now it takes me an hour because we stop.
He's so popular.
Yeah.
The answers came in the form of a good book.
Yes, I do. I read a lot.
And a good meal.
I like seafood. I like pasta. So, yeah.
I think I find love in a dish of pasta, too.
Oh, yeah.
My last name's Martinelli.
Oh, so you'd have to.
That explains it.
I posed the question to adults.
Where do you find love right now?
Everywhere. I find it in the beauty of the Caloosahatchee River.
And I posed it to kids.
I love fostering kittens. I love cats. I love more kittens.
Children old enough to know what's happening in the world.
Well, it's very sad that bad stuff happens like that. It's sad.
But children who are lucky enough to still have their innocence.
I really like tickling Sean. And also, getting that in the face.
And of all the places people find love in these times, there's one constant.
What's my family?
My family?
Your family.
And my family. My granddaughters, when they come over, Pappy, they put your arms around you, and that's what I love,
Love alone will not solve our country's problems.
and we have to do something about it.
Yet love might allow us to find some sort of peace in this never-ending pain.
True love is the greatest miracle, and I would add, of all.
We're taking you on an adventure, from a castle in the woods to the search for a ghost. For this next trio of stories to share, buckle up because we're going on some adventures. In the center of this sea of green stands the culmination of one man's dream.
Every man's home is his castle, so Dad decided that his castle would be his home.
Elaine Solomon's father, Howard, built this aluminum-coated fortress here in the community of Ona. An hour east of Sarasota, it's like a Florida man's Downton Abbey.
I thought everybody's daddy made stuff. He took his artwork seriously, but that doesn't necessarily mean that his art was serious.
While some artists have classical periods, Howard had his beer can period. At every turn, there is junk turned into art and a pun to go with it.
This is a band that plays Flight of the Bumblebee.
Okay.
But it's just canned music.
An interior designer by trade, Howard moved to this central Florida swampland in 1970.
He's been called the Rembrandt of reclamation, the Da Vinci of debris, and the Wizard of odds and ends.
The castle became both Howard's home and the beginning of his kingdom.
He didn't stop with just the castle.
Next to it is his boat in the moat, which currently houses a restaurant. Behind that is a lighthouse.
Because every boat needs a lighthouse.
Further back on the property is Howard's Ala Schmo,
which was a replica of the Alamo in Texas.
He's got 2 glass eyes in the front.
Today, all of it is on display for the public as a tribute to Howard.
Excuse me.
Because 6 years ago, this kingdom lost its king.
I need a second, I'm sorry.
As silly as he could be, Howard Solomon did what few ever do. He turned his imagination into reality.
What do you think Howard would think of what his kingdom has become today?
I don't know if he ever really thought that anybody could fill his shoes, but he knew that we'd give it our best shot.
As long as his kingdom remains, so does Howard's dream and his dad jokes.
And inside of the chicken is a spring. So you know what that is? It's a spring chicken. Yeah.
Finally got one.
For 15 years at the Corkscrew Sanctuary in Naples, there has been a mystery.
Lots of epiphytes up there.
Somewhere in this swamp is a ghost, and if you're lucky,
I see something white.
You just might lay eyes on the captivating creature.
Oh, I think I do see it.
Research director Sean Clem says visitors come from around the world to see it.
People traveling from Japan and from Europe and from, Australia to come here.
Oh, yeah.
Only the ghost they come for is not some Stephen King-esque specter.
I am trying to see the ghost orchid.
Yep, an orchid.
So wonderful that it's so far away.
Hundreds of feet away from the boardwalk and hundreds of feet high, it's right there.
My background, I've worked on fish and wading birds, but when you start talking about orchids, people start paying attention.
The ghost orchid wasn't discovered at Corkscrew until 2007. It needs the perfect balance of humidity, the perfect pollinator, and the perfect amount of rainfall just to exist. That's why you can only find them here and in Cuba.
So I just think that the role it plays in the ecosystem and just the rarity for me are what is, just so cool about it.
Researchers are still working to understand the elusive orchid, but its mysterious lure has reaffirmed a fundamental truth.
It really is sometimes the tiny things
It is.
in life.
It is the little things.
A small ghost bringing haunting beauty to the swamp. Our tour begins in the parking lot of a Walmart, though the treasures we'll be seeking can't be bought in a big box.
Driver, take us thrifting!
On board, it's Driver Joe, 54 deal-hungry women, and me.
You know what?
what? It's like a feeding frenzy. Honestly.
To nourish the shopper's soul, Virginia Barnage hosts these thrifting bus tours.
And it's been gangbusters.
Today, our first stop is up I-75 in Venice. But first,
We're going to have ponies versus unicorns.
there's a race.
Go.
To these shoppers, it's their Kentucky Derby.
Okay, we're neck and neck.
The side that wins departs the bus first. By the time we arrive, it's clear there is no monkeying around in thrifting.
No.
Paula Ciccarelli missed her chance at a teal table years ago. She won't make that mistake again.
And I'm still kicking myself that I didn't get it.
I always remember the one that got away.
Exactly.
Oh, that's awesome.
At another store down the road, nothing will get away from Wendy Pilkey. This music box is worth north of $400. She snagged it for $25. A bargain like that is cause for celebration, which means,
cheers, baby.
Uh-oh, here comes the Prosecco.
Yeah. Yeah, they probably spend a little more. Yeah. So we encourage that.
What happened after this is a bit of a blur. This shopper bought enough board games to never be bored again.
But a pile like this, that's a good day.
The word cute got tossed around like we were in a room full of puppies.
Aren't they cute?
Isn't this cute?
Cute, isn't it?
And I learned the true meaning of shop till you drop.
You're worn out shopping.
3 hours later.
Somehow we eventually made it back to Fort Myers. Somehow we did so with enough fines to fill a bus and enough new friends to make you want to do it all again.
That was quite the trip. At the start of 2022, I learned sometimes the best journeys are the ones you least expect.
This is how I began the last day of 2021 in a parking lot at 1 a.m. outside Orlando Sanford Airport, about to embark on a 4-hour Uber ride with a group of strangers. I'm going to document everything. Yes. But before we get into that Uber, allow me to explain. On Christmas Eve, I flew from Punta Gorda to upstate New York to spend the holidays with my family.
Happy New Year, Merry Christmas, and I'll quit so Kate can sit down.
But the return flight never made it to Punta Gorda. Instead, due to foggy weather, we were diverted to Sanford, Florida. And a sleepy Sean was on his own to find his way back home.
I feel like one of those movies where it's like a foreign exchange group goes to like Germany or something.
Which brings us back to that parking lot. These fellow weary travelers who I met at baggage claim allowed me to join in their 165-mile trek to our intended destination.
Well, right before your trip popped up, I was like, well, I'm going to go eat dinner. Pling, is it? Okay, no, I'm not.
Our driver, who simply went by the nickname Popeye, led the way. In the back sat James from Cape Coral. In the middle, Fort Myers roommates Sydney and Jade. And up front, Michelle was on vacation to visit family. By the time we made our way west on I-4, all of us had become pals.
Meeting new people, making friends.
Maybe we were all a tad delirious, but the journey ended up being kind of enjoyable. We got to know each other, swap stories, and made light of our unfortunate circumstance.
Yeah, we laughed a lot, so
It made the ride go by.
yeah, it did.
In this new year, I think we could all use a few more diversions. Not necessarily the travel kind, but the ones that lead us to new places and new friends. Here we are, Punta Gorda Airport. If you're lucky, you just might find a car full of them who help turn a sour situation sweet. Some final thoughts from a statue that speaks for a community.
Just down the road from these estates, there's an iconic statue that stood tall for decades until Hurricane Ian. But even in its current condition, I think it sends a powerful message.
On McGregor Boulevard in Fort Myers, if this statue could speak, what would she say? For 96 years, I stood tall, I stood proud. Below me, horses and buggies became trucks and cars. I looked over their drivers like an ever-present guard, and now they look at me, cracked, scuffed, battered. Ian came with its fierce winds and flooding waters. In its trail, my surroundings are mangled and worn. My city is ruined. So I look to the right for answers, for hope. Just like the birds still sing their songs, I still stand. They call me Rachel at the well. They call me the spirit of Fort Myers. And maybe my condition says something about our condition. It says we are bent, but we are not broken.
Thanks for spending this past hour with me as we revisited some of our favorite stories to share. From all of us at NBC2, happy holidays, and may your new year be filled with lots of good news. Now we're going to leave you with some of the sights of the Edison and Ford Winter Estates in Fort Myers.